Woman takes DNA test that reveals uncomfortable truth about her husband. Leanne Kupferberg Carter, like anyone sending a saliva sample to 23andMe, was eager to learn more about her heritage, but also fairly certain that she knew what to expect. Maybe her results would indicate a surprise bit of national heritage, but when Leanne and her husband paged through their respective results, the two looked at each other in complete disbelief. Leanne Kupferberg Carter knows a thing or two about the effects of genetics. She's an award-winning author who penned a touching memoir called Ketchup is My Favorite Vegetable. A Family Grows Up with Autism. She owed that inspiration to her son. As a young parent, she thought it was odd that her son Mickey wasn't speaking for the first few years of his life. After taking him for a comprehensive evaluation from a doctor, Leanne learned a hard truth. Mickey suffered from autism. Of course, like any loving parent, Leanne refused to let her son's disability define him. Raising a child with autism certainly has its hurdles, but it also led Leanne into the world of autism awareness. She began attending lectures and soon carved out quite the name for herself, even speaking on panels about her experiences. But none of her efforts were possible without immense help from her husband, Mark. Leanne and Mark were married for 38 years, and their love grew stronger with every day that passed. As remarkable as their bond was, it was the story of how they met that truly had people floored. The two were both in their 20s on a Club Med vacation in the Bahamas when the pangs of Cupid's arrow struck. They quickly hit it off and then soon realized they actually lived 1 block away from each other in Manhattan. Once they returned back to the States, the two were inseparable. It only took Mark 2 weeks of dating to know Leanne was the one, and he asked her to marry him underneath a vibrant sky of fireworks. Their relationship seemed like something straight out of a romance movie. They were two souls meant to meet on that vacation, and once they wed and settled down together, they started a family. They had 2 boys together, Jonathan and Mickey. Once Mickey was diagnosed with autism, the whole family came together to ensure he lived the most fulfilling life possible. The Carter family was the complete smiling package. For years, Leanne was always curious about her genetic makeup, especially since she had a son with autism. So she and Mark took the mysterious plunge into the world of genomic companies. They opted for 23andMe, a reputable brand that helped thousands of people discover more about their ancestry. The couple swabbed their mouths and sent in the samples, eager to see what results they'd receive. Naturally, Leanne and Mark couldn't wait to get these tests back. As close as they were, they hoped to find out even more similarities, if possible. However, when the results finally came in, the couple was stunned. They stared at the documents in disbelief. According to 23andMe, Leanne and Mark were third cousins. No one expected this kind of a revelation, especially their son Jonathan, who suggested the test weeks earlier. Their 30-year-old son was completely unsure of how to react to the startling news. "I don't know how I feel about this. Do I need to get genetic counseling?" Jonathan asked. However, Leanna and her husband took it all in stride. Whereas some couples might not handle the news well, this couple found the humor. Leanne would say, "You're my cousin husband," to Mark, who would always jokingly reply, "Better than being a sister wife." Leanne also shared the news on Facebook. She created the hashtag #OurForbiddenLove, and within just a few hours her friends were liking the post and leaving baffled comments like, "No freaking way, and how is that possible?" Some even drew interesting parallels. One person reminded them their distant cousin relationship was just like those of the Roosevelts, or better yet, Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II. Not long after breaking the news, Leanne's friends sent her a fascinating article shedding light on the situation. Both partners were of Ashkenazi Jewish descent, an ethnic group that came about during the Middle Ages. Members rarely married outside the culture, which meant descendants shared more DNA than average. The article stirred up even more exciting wonderment in the couple. Leanne and Mark were still unsure whether or not they actually shared a set of great-great-grandparents, but they bask in the crazy 23andMe revelation every day. However, not every genetic discovery made through these companies is something to brag about. Leanne and her husband sure didn't envy Denise Janeski. All her life, the 72-year-old never fit in with her family. She was the only blonde in a brood of brunettes and redheads, and found she wasn't in the same ballpark as the rest of them when it came to athleticism. Yet when she took a 23andMe ancestry test, it still surprised her. She shared absolutely zero in common with any member of her family. This was a mistake, she knew, so she ordered another DNA kit. The results were the same. That left her with only one conclusion. Either 23andMe made a mistake, she thought to herself, thinking of her blonde hair and her family's red and brunette tops, or I was switched at birth, she concluded. In her suggested list of relatives was a younger woman she'd never heard of. She reached out to the young woman, who then compelled her 72-year-old Aunt Linda Jordines below to take a test. Like Denise, Linda didn't look like her family. She was the only redhead, and also, like Denise, she'd been born in 1945 at the same hospital in Minnesota at the same time. When her DNA kit arrived, she was eager for answers. Sure enough, her test confirmed Denise's suspicions. The two had been switched at birth. For decades, they'd been living with the other's true family. It's a crazy thing, Denise said. People just automatically assume they got the right family. Bonded by the bizarre mishap, the 72-year-olds cultivated a strong friendship. They threw a family reunion that included both their families. Unbelievably, familiar relations are not so few and far between with 23andMe. Reddit user Snorkel721 gave his mom, dad, brother, and 2 sisters DNA kits for Christmas. He thought it would be neat for all of them to learn a little more about their heritage. As soon as the family opened their presents, however, Mom freaked out. "Don't use those," she warned the kids. "They're packed with dangerous chemicals." Eyebrows raised, the kids explained there were no chemicals involved. Mom accepted this, but soon voiced another objection. Why should the whole family take the test? Why not have just one kid spit into the vial? Everyone's results would be similar after all, and they could resell the other kits. Why, the kids wonder, was Mom so opposed to the DNA tests? They had their answers when Mom and Dad marched downstairs and started arguing, leaving the kids bewildered upstairs. Had a family secret been uncovered? The DNA kit gifts forced a hard truth out into the open. Mom had married a man and had one kid, the eldest sister. That man, however, passed away shortly thereafter. Mom had never said a word, not even to Sis. The man the kids all called Dad was actually a close friend that helped Mom through that dark time in her life. He fell in love with her, the two married and had the rest of the family. For the first time ever, thanks to some prodding from the DNA kits, Mom shared her emotional story and her first husband with the kids. Oddly, gifted 23andMe kits have made impacts across the world.